guys, welcome to our video. The video about types of translation errors in a literary text based on a Nurpeisov Blood and Sweat trilogy. This is our assessment of review journal from our lecture Serka Mersipayung at the nomensen HKBP University Medan. First presenter, myself. I am Winda Boru Harahap, NPM 1712-03-21. Okay. The first introduction. Undoubtedly, excellent translation are a rarity nowadays. The issue of the quality of translation is comprehensive. Translators and specialist linguistics from all over the world regard it as one of the main topics in translation studies. Equivalence is regarded as the conceptual basis of translation quality assessment House 2015. Among other features of a good translation: clarity, proper terminology, syntax, and style can be named. In our opinion, a good translation can be characterized by not only the full transfer of all the features of semantic and composition of the original, but also by impeccability of the language, which means harmonious, natural style with minimum of translationist features. Such a translation becomes a full-fledged replacement for the original. In the story of literary translation as a verbal art, the principles of the approach to solving the aesthetic task evolved, the essence of which to convey not only to the content what, but also the form how of a particular literary work. The translate text brought the foreign reader closer to the perception of foreign literature that was a tribute to the creativity on the part of the translator. The only person who is able to make communication between the author and the reader of a literary work possible is a professional translator who shares the reader's word and knows the author's code of communication and the context of the creative process truly, according to Nunes 2012, page 30. From the translator of the literary text, we demand that he or she reproduce before us not only the image and touch of the translate author, not only his or her plot, but also his or her literary style and creative personality. The reflection of the writer's personality in the language of his or her work is called individual style, inherent to him or her alone. Therefore, distorting his or her style means distorting his her or image. Between the author and the translator, as already noted above, there always necessarily remains one fundamental difference. The author is given the widest choice in objective reality, and the translator is limited to the unchangeable artistic reality of the original. Speaking specifically about the reflection of the artistic reality of the original in translation, it means how the translator refers the reality behind the word of the original and how he or she reproduces it in the words of the target language, thereby showing that the words themselves would not have mattered without the reality, and that they might not have exact correspondence in the translation. The translator reproduces the reality with those language tools that most adequately reflect the essence of the original. The main danger of initial translation is that they not only distort individual words or phrase, but also the essence of the translate author. This happens much more often than one might think. The translator, so to speak, puts on a self-made mask of the author and misrepresents this marks as the author's true face. It is important to catch the significant deviation from the original, which are originally connect with the personality of the translator and reflect it, observing the translate author. According to the researcher, four main factors determine the insufficient knowledge of the translator. The first, poor knowledge of the original language. The second, insufficient knowledge of a subject of the author's talk, i.e. the translator must understand not only what the author writes about, but also what he says about the subject. The third, inattentive reading of the original text. The fourth, insufficiency to identify the peculiarity of the individual style of the original author. The second, material and methods. The aim of this article is to review and summarize the existing classification of translation errors and highlight the main types of translation errors for the comparative analysis of translation of the Kazakh writer Nurpeisov work Blood and Sweat from Kazakh and into Russian and from Russian into English. Okay, the third, research and discussion. Types of errors. Not so long ago, a new direction has emerged and is successful, developing in modern translation studies, errorology, the theory of errors. The Science of Errors in Translation, Sehnim, 2010.
Hi, my name is Vivi Teresia Subakti. My register number 70120357. Okay, this time I will to continue about review journal. The title of the types of translation error in a literary text based on a Nurpeisov's Blood and Sweat trilogy. Okay, first is according to Buzazi et al. 2009, page 21, identifies two groups of logical error that violate the objective logicality. There are three categories. First, destroying the overall objective logicality. And second, destroying special subjective logicality. And the third one is violate the particular objective logicality. And the second, according to Buzazi, is error that violate conceptual logicality are when the translator ignores the correct choice of language tools to perform a translation. And according to H.R. Steinbach 1981 and M.A. Kunilovskaya is orthographic, grammatical, and lexical. And the third one is according to P. Newmark 1988 successful translation solution. There are first stylistic editing of text, which requires competence from translator, and the second is high degree of transfer of expressiveness of the translation text as opposite to the search text. And the third one is correct application of compensation when translating stylistic device in artistic text. And there are, according to expert also, is CNORD 1997. There are present three types of errors. First one is pragmatic errors, second is culturological errors, and the third is language errors. Belief and Sweet is the famous modern Kazakh prosa writer, and according to D.M. Buzazi, Fifi Gosev, and F.K. Lanchikov 2009 is the classification of translation error types, groups, and categories of errors is the logical, synthetic, and lexical, and then the last is stylistic one. There are four groups of translation error. The first one is error in trans error in transmission of meaning related to denotative content of the text. The second one is error related to the transfer of stylistic characteristic of the original. And the third one is error related to the violation of the transfer or of the author's assessment. And the last is errors associated with an obvious violation of the norm and usage of the target language.
Okay, before I do continue to explain about journal, as my friends talk about journal of Vivi Teresia Surbakti, so I'ma continue. But before it, uh, let me introduce myself. My name is Natasha Sembiring. My registration number is 17120342. So I can continue this journal. As in example 3, it is possible to speak about equivalence at semantic level in such as a translation. It is not clear what the reason for giving such a version of the translation was. It can be only assumed that the translator intended to add more expression to this except, but this led to an unjustified violation of the author's styles of the original text. 2. Errors related to incorrect transfer of the denotative content of the original. The following example shows that errors of this category are not causes of a significant distortion of the meaning, and they don't in, interferes with the understanding and perception of the text, but it should be noted their influence on the pragmatic. So the addition in English translation don't distort the meaning of the Russian text. However, if we talk about a correct translation, the semantics of the text is reproduced incorrectly. The following translation would be more accurate. How can a Russian know about our business? The second group of errors, error related to the transfer of stylistic characteristic of the original. In comparison with other types of translation, literary translation will not tolerate such errors. 3.1 Philologian in transmission of functional and stylistic or genre features of the original text. Example 7. That morning he had talked like a chronic illness to find that dumb woman. It is occurring to Nurpeisov 20 and 13.482 So this example demonstrates an inappropriate stylistic contrast due to the use of lexical units in target language that don't correspond to the function of the original text. The phrase "damn woman" is undesirable for use in translation of this passage. Since if in the original text the main character element always loved and cherished Akbala. He couldn't even think of it scarcely. We will suggest the following translation. That morning, he had a talk like a chronic illness. Change clothes, bathe, shave, and go search for Akbala. Okay, go to 3.2. Kalku translation. Example 8. For Ivan, the crook knows returned to the Finnish fishing settlement, settled the priest Nurpeisov 20 and 13.52. Example 8 clearly shows the use of one of translation transformation by translator Kalku. It implies that translation of a word or a phrase by parts of the lexical units of the original, but in this case, the error lies in the fact that the author of the English translation gave the wrong meaning of the words. This is probably due to misunderstanding of the semantics of the word. If we turn to the explanatory dictionary, the word of means short and upturned or about the nose or about the person. With a sort of an upturned nose, if we break apart the English phrase crook nose, the word crook is translated as hook or explanation by Akmanova and Wilson 13, 19 and 97. and a derivative of the word translation snub nose or turn up nose. A little inaccuracy distorts the view of the reader about characters of the literary work, thereby changing the emotional attitude towards them. As can be seen from this example, some information are found in translation. Everyone was sick and tired of waiting is omitted in the translation, which eventually led to an unmotivated weakening of the expressive background of the original. Okay, go to 4.2 errors associated with incorrect transfer of the author's assessment or neutralization or unmotivated amplification. Example 10. Yes, yes, what a strong fellow. Whatever you say, then evil has hefty strength. There is stylistically colored addition. Whatever you say, then evil, then devil has hefty strength in the English translation. Therefore, such an unmotivated addition and replacement of information distorts the assessment in the text of the original. The meaning of translation errors from the third group is important in the translation of a literary text as its plain emotional expressive impact is erased it all or replaced by another. 5. 5. The fourth group of errors associated with an obvious violation of the norm and usage of the target language. 5.1 Errors related to violation of orthographic and punctuation norms of the target language. Example 10. Then he waved his arm and began to describe the changes that were happening in the capital of Russia. The revolutionaries and the Bolsheviks, the uprising, and the preparation in Chalka. In this example, we can notice of colon after in the capital of Russia in the English translation. Then there is the following enumeration: enumeration the revolution. Kennersky and the Bolsheviks, the uprising in the preparation in Chalka. The function of such a punctuation mark is an indication that a part of the text of a part it is connected with causal, explanatory, and the other semantics relation with a part the text before it. A colon is a part after generalizing word or sentence with a large number of homogeneous members. It turns out that everything element said was happening in the Russian capital. Although in Russian text the word combination go through a comma in the conversation of the main character. This means that leads those changes are taking place not only in the Russian capital, which he saw or heard on his way. Okay, go to 5.2 errors related to incorrect transfer in the real translation of proper names. Example 12. You wait just a minute. There, man. There, man. Someone shouted behind his back. The voice was an obvious, low and reverberating. So I think it is by expert. The Kazakhs are Turkic people who mainly inhabit the southern part of Eastern European Ural Mountains and northern parts of Central Asia. Distorting the information laid down in the original, the author of the English translation misleads the reader and narrow his horizons and worldview. Continuing the topic of translation of etonyms, we would like to indicate one more example of translation errors. Take from the words under research. Can a steamship pass through the bay of Sakchiganak as close as possible to the 68th third passing track? Isn't the bay slow? Isn't the bay shallow? Daykov inquired further. It's slow, but for the Turks, there will be just enough room. In this case, it would be better to translate from the context it is the name of the ship into English as Turkistani or Turkistanets or transliteration, but not as the Turks. The Turkistani means a resident of the city of Turkestan, located in the south of resident of Newark. The Turks of Turknic ethnic group that belong to the August branch and live in Turkey. Okay, go to 5.3 errors related to violence in the transmission of specific types of numerical data. Example 14. Sir Ahmed to the peak and took a wide swing. After he made 10 such swings, he was covered with sweat and began to stream off his clothes. This example illustrates an obvious translation error. In example 12, in the English translation, the numeral is 10, not is 20. In example 13, the numeral is translated by as 20, not 19. So the conclusion about Jurnal, the title about types of translation errors in a literary text based on A. Nurpeisov's Blood and Sweat Trilogy. So the conclusion, as a result of the comparative analysis of the translation of the trilogy Blood and Sweat, We came to a conclusion that in the English version of the novel almost all the groups and types of error indicated in the different classification were found. From example, we found that serious errors are distortions of the semantics of the original or the text contents, violation of the norms and usage of the target language, and violation in the transfer of functional and stylistic or genre features of the original text. But what is not clear is the reason which led to these errors. It can be assumed that the translator wanted to improve the author's text, but in the end, neglecting the basic norms and rules of translation led to an unclear and sometimes controversial content of the original text in translation. Nevertheless, based on the fact that it is impossible to obtain an adequate translation of the literary text to the full, the translation critic and can tolerate minor translation errors, but in this case they shouldn't distort the general meaning and the picture of the word described by the author. Also, if this error don't interferes with production the same view of the reader as the original text and get the same emotional and artistic impact when reading the original. Thus, having discovered the concept of errors, the classification of translation error of some linguistic, and also analyzing errors in a given literary text, we came to the conclusion that the study of the phenomenon of translation error requires a profound multi-aspect analysis. One of aspects that are to be studied is the need to discover the causes of error and then to distinguish between successful translation decisions from mistaken ones. Another important thing is studying influence of indirect translation of the quality and accuracy of the translated text. Indirectly and directly translated text should be compared in the terms of the number of errors, completeness, and adequacy. Okay, so we go to references. So in here, many references from the journal. So we can go to references. Okay, so I think that's all about our journal. The topic about types of translation errors in a literary text based on A. Nurpeisov's Blood and Sweet Trilogy. Okay, we are from group A2. Okay, I think that's all about our journal. Thank you for watching and thank you so much, sir.